The Republican presidential primary debates. You've heard commentary from the rest, but now you've come to the best. That does say best, right? I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance. Here's your host, Randall Terry.
Shame on Fox News. Shame on them. The fact that they had this debate without Rick Santorum, without former Governor Perry, without former Governor Gilmore. Do you think about that with me? Rick Santorum was second place, just behind Romney. Santorum almost became the Republican nominee and might have beat Obama, unlike Romney. And they're not going to put him on the stage? Governor Rick Perry, who was the front runner 4 years ago, and they're not going to put him on the stage? Shame on them. They're trying to control the outcome of the election. And then someone adroitly pointed out that and I saw the first debate, by the way, I hope that you got to watch it, but they just punish these candidates, browbeat them about how bad they are in the polls. Like, why are you here? Why aren't you out? Well, why did you invite me to this one? Why didn't you put me on stage? Maybe I would have got the bump I needed. Shame on you, Fox. And by the way, a little bit more shame, not quite as much, but I really thought that Megyn Kelly's performance, the blonde, all right, was a disaster. If you saw it, maybe you have a different opinion. I was so embarrassed for the candidates. I was embarrassed for Fox. And I think she's losing it. And then I saw her afterwards talking to Debbie Wasserman, a later interview, like they were old chums. And I could just see her like, boy, you really put it to Donald Trump with that, off the air. You really put it to Donald Trump with that question about women. Or her question to Governor Walker, which we're going to go at. It's like she's losing it. She's losing it. And I thought she was a smart woman. I'm really beginning to have my doubts. And I don't know if you saw it, but Trump went after her and lunch afterwards with tweets, because there were people all over the country who were really saying, what happened to Megyn Kelly? And I said it without knowing anything from anyone. Of course, I might know that because I'm a broadcaster. Anyway, I digress. I want to give credit to Bloomberg for the clip you're going to see. Just in case you missed last night's debate, somebody, a hardworking staffer over there at Bloomberg, put together this montage. So I'm giving credit to where credit is due. And it was just some fun clips. Go ahead and play them, please.
If he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton.
You're not going to make the pledge tonight.
I will not make the pledge at this time.
How is Hillary Clinton going to lecture me about living paycheck to paycheck? I was raised paycheck to paycheck.
You called women you don't like fat pigs?
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
It was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure.
They called me Vito Corleone because I vetoed 2,500 separate line items in the budget.
Mr. Trump is touching a nerve because people want the wall to be
There should be a path to earn legal status for those that are here. Not amnesty. Earn legal status.
I want to collect more records from terrorists, but less records from other people. How are you supposed to know, Megyn?
You support
what are you supposed to?
amendment.
When you're sitting in a subcommittee just blowing hot air about this, you can say things like that.
I don't trust President Obama with our records. I know you gave him a big hug, and if you want to give him a big hug again, go right ahead.
Senator Paul, the hugs that I remember are the hugs that I gave to the families who lost their people on September 11th.
Thank you, Megyn. I wasn't sure I was going to get to talk again.
That Iran released our hostages in 1981, the day Ronald Reagan was sworn into office.
With Hillary Clinton, I said, be at my wedding, and she came to my wedding.
If Hillary is the candidate, which I doubt, that would be a dream come true.
The last number of months of his brother's administration were a catastrophe.
I just went to a wedding of a friend of mine who happens to be gay. If one of my daughters happened to be that, of course I would love them.
Probably the Russian and Chinese government know more about Hillary Clinton's email server than do the members of the United States Congress.
God has blessed us. He's blessed the Republican Party with some very good candidates. The Democrats can't even find one.
I'm the only one to separate Siamese twins, the only one to take out half of a brain, although you would think if you go to Washington that someone had beat me to it. But
it seems like this election has been a whole lot about a person who's very high in the polls, but doesn't have a clue about how to govern. And of course, I'm talking about Hillary Clinton.
It's over.
All right, so if you missed it, there are some of the highlights, some of the lowlights. All right, let's play the tape of Trump saying he won't leave the race.
Is there anyone on stage, and can I see hands, who is unwilling tonight to pledge your support to the eventual nominee of the Republican Party and pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person? Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump. So, Mr. Trump, to be clear, you're standing on a Republican primary debate.
I fully understand.
The place where the RNC will give the nominee the nod.
I fully understand.
And that experts say an independent run would almost certainly hand the race over to Democrats and likely another Clinton. You can't say tonight that you can make that pledge.
I cannot say. I have to respect the person that if it's not me, the person that wins. If I do win and I'm leading by quite a bit, that's what I want to do. I can totally make that pledge. If I'm the nominee, I will pledge I will not run as an independent. But and I am discussing it with everybody, but I'm talking about a lot of leverage. We want to win, and we will win. But
all right, so I mean, he's saying, look, this is leverage. And I saw his interview afterwards with Sean Hannity, and it made perfect sense. He said, look, let's just see how the machinery treats me. That's all he said. Let's see how the Republican machinery treats me. Because if they treat me ill, well, I have the resources to run an independent campaign, and I'll leave it as an open possibility. He's using leverage. He said he's using leverage. So I'm not upset that he said it. And most Americans are not upset that he said it. Rand Paul evidently was upset that he said it. I didn't think Rand Paul looked good. Anyway, I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I want to play a clip from the George Pataki question about Planned Parenthood and the Scott Walker question about abortion from Megyn Kelly. Again, I thought it was a disaster. Megyn, you didn't even frame the question right, Megyn. Friend, we are in the middle of producing a 14-part epic television series called What Would Mohammed Do? Explaining Islam and ISIS to the West. I have a master's degree in international terrorism, and I have studied ancient Islamic texts for over a decade. And we are going to do a very paced and a very scholarly look at Muhammad's life and see the connection of his life to today's headlines. Well, we need your help on 3 levels. 1, we need help with some security measures. 2, we need help with some gear for the studio. And 3, we need help with some computers. I'm inviting you to go to the GoFundMe site that you see on the screen and watch the pilot for episode 1. You'll get a feel for what it's going to be, and I promise you, you're going to be excited. You'll be challenged, and you're going to want your friends to see it. And then after you've seen it, give what you can to help us with this project. Thank you. Let's look at the question that Megyn Kelly asked Governor Walker, and we'll listen to Governor Walker's response. I think he did a really good job responding, and I think the question was horrible. Here you go.
Governor Walker, you have consistently said that you want to make abortion illegal, even in cases of rape, incest, or to save the life of the mother. You recently signed an abortion law in Wisconsin that does have an exception for the mother's life, but you are on record as having objected to it. Would you really let a mother die rather than have an abortion? And with 83% of the American public in favor of a life exception, are you two out of the mainstream on this issue to win the general election?
Well, I'm pro-life. I've always been pro-life. And I've got a position I think is consistent with many Americans out there in that I believe that is an unborn child that's in need of protection out there. And I've said many a time that unborn child can be protected, and there are many other alternatives that will also protect the life of that mother. That's been consistently proven. Unlike Hillary Clinton, who has a radical position in terms of support for Planned Parenthood. I defunded Planned Parenthood more than 4 years ago, long before any of these videos came out. I've got a position that's in line with everyday America.
All right. Good job, Governor Walker, of bringing it back around. And I was interested that he didn't clarify, because I would have clarified it. So I'll do it for Miss Kelly. because she really screwed up on this one. You know, she rightly said, you're against exceptions to kill a baby based upon rape and incest. The simple answer to that, which he didn't need to do, is you don't kill a baby for the crime of the father. If a baby is conceived in rape or in incest or some horrific manner, horrible criminal manner, that's not the baby's fault. So you don't execute a child, a living, innocent human being, for the crime of the father. You might discuss executing the father, okay? I think that there's a valid discussion about capital punishment for certain rapes. I do. It's a capital crime in the scriptures. So anyway, he didn't take the bait on rape and incest. But then she said, but the mother, life of the mother, you would really let the woman die? Oh my gosh, Megan, you should know Doe versus Bolton better than that. For those of you who don't know, she's a lawyer. That's why I said it to her. Doe versus Bolton was the companion case of Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade said that you can kill a baby up to the end of the second trimester. Doe versus Bolton said you could kill the baby all the way to the end of pregnancy, and it defined life of the mother, all right, the life of the mother, as psychological issues, economic issues. In other words, if a woman is going to be really poor, her life will be ruined, the life of the mother, then yes, you can go ahead and kill the baby. So, and let's say an ectopic pregnancy. You probably know it as a tubal pregnancy, all right? This is a tragedy that happens to women in America. Probably happens almost every day to someone. It's just a horrible tragedy. I remember a very famous godly Christian woman, a gospel singer, who had 2 ectopic pregnancies. It's when the baby implants on the wall of the tube, the fallopian tube. So the conception occurs near the ovary, and then the baby takes 8 or 10 days to just slowly move down into the uterus. Once in a great while, the child will implant on the wall of the tube, the fallopian tube, rather than the uterine wall where it's supposed to be. And there's no known way to save the baby yet. So the child will grow, and after about 3 months, the woman's fallopian tube will rupture, and the baby will die for sure. And sometimes women have died. So this is one of the rare cases where the physical life of the mother is immediately threatened by the presence of this baby in pregnancy, okay? In those cases, it's never been a crime to remove the baby. It's just the ethics of it are self-defense at that point. If the woman does not have that baby removed, and the baby will die, sadly, but if the baby is not removed, the woman's going to die and the baby's going to die. So she should have known better. She should have known better than to ask a silly question like that. And I applaud Governor Walker for holding to his guns and for saying that he would defend all human life. And Megan, you should as well. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas referred to John Locke twice in his dissent in the Obergefell decision. John Locke is referred to as the philosopher of American liberty. He was a genius, and he not only believed in natural law, but he believed in revealed law, the Word of God, the law of God. And he is one of the 2 most influential philosophers on the founders of this republic. We are offering you this book, and I'm going to give you my book as well, The Sword. The Sword, the subtitle is The Blessing of Righteous Government and the Overthrow of Tyrants. It looks at what is the legitimate purpose of government and when is it our right to overthrow government like they did with the Declaration of Independence. We will send you these 2 books if you simply pay for the shipping and handling, $8, and then give whatever else you want. And by the way, the $8 doesn't cover our cost, but if that's all you can afford, we'll send them to you for the $8. God bless you. Again, shame on Fox for not letting former governors, Pataki, Gilmore, Perry, former Senator Rick Santorum, for shame on them for not letting them on the stage with those other folks. Bobby Jindal, a current sitting governor, who's a sharp guy. I mean, this is absurd and it's appalling and it's politics. This is Fox saying we're going to weed out the field. Shame on you, Fox. We should try and put up a fuss to whoever's hosting the next debate. I'll find out who's hosting the next debate and we'll put up a fuss saying that they should all be on there. All right, I want to play a clip from a question to former Governor George Pataki. All right, here I'll play the question and his response, because his response was pathetic, and it was horrible logic, and it was immoral. But I want to use it as a teaching moment, because there's a lot of people, I'm sure there was a lot of Christians who would say, yeah, especially a lot of Catholics. All right, go ahead and roll the tape.
This question goes to Governor Pataki. Governor Pataki, you're the only pro-choice candidate running. A Republican holding that position has not won a single primary in 35 years. With the recent Planned Parenthood videos that we have all seen, shedding new light on abortion practices, I know that you have said that you would defund Planned Parenthood. Yes. But has this story changed your heart?
My heart has not changed because I've always been appalled by abortion. I'm a Catholic. I believe life begins at conception, but...
All right, so he's appalled by abortion. That's strong. I'm Catholic. Life begins at conception. Are you hearing this? Life begins at conception, but I'm willing to let the babies die. A Catholic teaching, I'm Catholic, and Catholic teaching says that child killing should be illegal from conception until birth, but I'm not prepared to do that. But I'm Catholic and I'm appalled by it. No, you're a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. You would this is the Mario Cuomo nonsense. I'm Catholic, but I believe the teachings of the church. But no, you don't believe the teachings of the church. And God forgive whoever's serving that man communion if he goes for communion. So anyway, life begins at conception, but Governor Pataki won't defend it. There's a pillar of strength. Go ahead. Next clip.
As Bill said earlier, Roe v. Wade has been the law for 42 years, and I don't think we should continue to try to change it.
Wow. I don't think we should try to change it. It's been here for so long, 42 years. That's real precedent. No, former Governor Pataki, the only precedent dealing with murder that really matters is thou shalt not. That's the precedent that matters. God said thou shalt not murder. And there's no precedent in the Supreme Court that can ever change that. Heaven help us. God forgive us. All right, let's go. Play one more clip of his, what he said. Okay.
But what we can do is defund Planned Parenthood. And by the way, put in place an absolute permanent ban on any taxpayer dollars ever being used to fund abortions. Also, when you look at these videos, they are horrific and show just a hideous disrespect for life. What else we can do is that we should believe in science. Hillary Clinton's always saying how Republicans don't follow science. Well, they're the ones not listening to the scientists today, because doctors say that at 20 weeks, that is a viable life inside the womb. And at that point, it's a life that we have the right to protect, and I think we should protect. So I would pass legislation outlawing abortion after 20 weeks. It is Hillary, it is Biden, it is the others who insist on allowing abortion well into the life of a viable infant that is wrong and that should be stopped.
All right, I thought that I would laugh, except that I wanted to cry. Science. We should look at science, because at 20 weeks we know that this baby is viable. Doctors tell us this, scientists tell us this. So we should pass a law to outlaw all abortion after this baby can live outside the womb. Now, at 19 and a half weeks, the lungs aren't quite fully developed enough, so if you want to kill your baby, you better sneak in at that point to do it. Now, science tells us that that's still a human being at that point, but let's not get too carried away following science, so 20 weeks is the cutoff. What about 19 weeks and 5 days, Governor? What about just 1 or 2 days before those lungs are fully developed? Then what? Yeah. This is hypocrisy. But the message to Catholics is, stop putting your head in the sand Stop believing the lies of these evildoers, and don't vote for people who say they're Catholic but want to kill babies. Hello? Friend, this TV show represents a mission. It's to be a voice of resistance to the evil in the land, but also to inspire people like you to take a stand at any level that you might be able to equip you, to inspire you, to challenge you, to give you the rhetorical ammunition that you need. But we still have to pay bills. This program, as you know if you're a regular viewer, we don't spend a lot of time raising money. We don't spend a lot of time saying, oh, you need to buy this and we're going to run. No, we're bringing you a message, but we still have bills that we need to pay. I'm asking you, if you have been blessed by this show, to please go to our website or send a check to the address you see on the screen or call the phone number that you see on the screen and use your credit card and to give $50 or $100 or $500 just to help us meet our normal expenses. And we'll keep bringing you this hard-hitting show. There was one good question asked of former Governor Jim Gilmore, former governor of Virginia, was governor beginning of the 2000s. He was in office when 9/11 took place. And the question from Fox was, would you support a litmus test for any judge who wants to be on the Supreme Court to say whether or not they would overturn Roe versus Wade? It's a good question. That's the one I've been saying you need to have. That's our litmus test. He wouldn't do it. He said the only litmus test we should have is that the judge says that they will go by the Constitution and not make up their own laws. That's basically what he said. Well, good grief, Governor. Roe versus Wade is a made-up law. So by giving a false litmus test, will you uphold the Constitution? Do you really think that Sotomayor or Kagan, we're going to say, no, I won't uphold the Constitution. Absolutely. I refuse to agree to uphold the Constitution. But it's stupid. It's not intelligent. And it was a refusal to take a stand. If, part of me is glad, because if he doesn't have the guts and the brains to do it, then fine, he doesn't deserve the presidency. But if he wanted to to stick out really fast, and to have a viable candidacy that, was kicking up dust around there with the second-tier candidates, he should have said, I vow to you that I will have a litmus test for Roe versus Wade and for Obergefell, because those rulings are not law. Those rulings are an overthrow of the rule of law. They're an overthrow of representative government. They're an overthrow of our Constitution. And you bet I'll have a litmus test because they're unconstitutional. That would have put him somewhere. If he'd have said that, anything like that, it would have put him somewhere. Anyway, this is going to be a wild season. It's going to be a wild season, and we need to be discerning. I am going to continue to cheer Trump on in the sense of that he is causing great consternation for the Republican establishment. And I despise the Republican establishment so much that I am happy that he is causing them fits. And it was interesting to see, I don't know if you noticed, both Jeb Bush and Scott Walker, who were on either side of him, because they're number 2 and number 3 in the polls, they were both very polite to him. Very polite. The only one that was impolite was Rand Paul. So Rand Paul was impolite to Chris Christie too, although that was a great exchange. That was actually a pretty good exchange. I think that substantively, Rand Paul got the best of Chris Christie on the issue of warrants, but I think that emotionally, Chris Christie got the best because he talked about hugging people. And after all, we are a touchy-feely society, and who wouldn't feel good after a big bear hug from Chris Christie? I'm sorry, that's a disturbing image. All right, the show is just about over. If you want to learn more about how to be an activist, about how to get involved in politics, please feel free to go to our website, because everything there is free. You can get everything, my books that I've written, papers that I've written, classes that we've done online. It's all there for you. That's if you want to become a true political activist and have discernment. My goal is to equip the right-hand side of your brain for war, all right? I'm the rhetorical arms dealer for the right-hand side of your brain, and all the arms are free.